Thank you and welcome to Birmingham. And I want to start by thanking the organisers, the Birmingham Green Party, and indeed all those in the West Midlands who have helped to make us feel so very welcome. Conference, our membership has grown significantly over the last year, up by nearly a third. And it's such a pleasure to see so many people that I don't even recognise. And so I welcome all new members who share our values and ambitions, who will build on what we have already achieved as a party, and who are ready to help us create a society genuinely based on fairness, on justice and sustainability, values that the Green Party is committed to putting at the heart of the political process. And perhaps we can be forgiven for beginning our conference in reflecting on our achievements. For we have an autumn conference where we can celebrate success. First, hot off the press, the by-election for Norwich City Council yesterday, where the Norwich Greens continued their unstoppable momentum, holding all their seats, winning another, and now with 14 seats, the largest Green Council group anywhere in the country ever. And in the local elections in May, we won our second City Council seat in Cambridge, and we made our first breakthroughs on Reading, Reigate and Rochford councils, places that now have Green representation for the first time. And so I'm delighted to congratulate our newly elected councillors, Adam Podnowski, Rob White, Jonathan Essex and Michael Hoy. Another sign of our growing challenge to the three main parties. But it also means that communities that now have the kind of principled and committed representation that the public want and deserve. And while the London results didn't reflect the enormous efforts of London parties like Hackney and Camden and Lewisham, knowing many of those activists as I do, I share their optimism for the building the vote towards the London Assembly elections in 2012. So, successes in local elections. Great work being done by Green representatives in dozens of local authorities, in the London Assembly, and in the European Parliament. Now, was there something else? Brighton! It was one amazing night for all of us. I cannot tell you what a privilege it was to stand on that stage and represent this wonderful movement of ours. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to everyone who made it possible. So many thoughts crowding in and fortunately crowding out the fact that none of us had slept for 24 hours. How it started in Britain over 30 years ago. People, and then the Ecology Party, as the first political movement based on ecological principles, on what we have come to call green principles. And the years, the decades of tireless work of so many thousands of people over so many years, believing against the odds, ignored, at times ridiculed by the mainstream, yet never losing faith. A long journey. A difficult journey where the odds have been stacked against us all way. But the results showed us, and the wider world, that the big guns don't always win in politics, and that is a wonderful message to put out to the country. That is what we've done, that's what we'll continue to do, to give hope for a better way, a better world. The idea that politics can be different. You know, it's as simple and as powerful as that. The time when a political party takes for the first time its rightful place in our parliament. mass cycle rides. You might remember that when the police were trying to stop the London cycle rides, using one of the many hundreds of pieces of anti-protest legislation brought in by Labour, and they tried to find who were the leaders of critical mass so that they could serve an injunction on them. And of course it doesn't have any leaders, it's spontaneous. People gather, and when the time is right and everyone's ready, someone chooses to pedal off. And with critical mass, so it is with our own party. It's not the one at the front who matters, it's everyone who's there. And of course when we set off, it wasn't quite spontaneous, far from it. The campaign we ran in Brighton from day one was carefully and creatively planned. And I was privileged to have one of the best campaign teams in the country. And that amazing team pulled together to take on the bigger parties, inspired huge numbers of members and non-members to get involved, staying focused and spirited to the very last vote was counted. But what we have achieved, we have done together. All of us here today, and all of our members, past and present, and the thousands, the hundreds of thousands of people in the country who vote for our candidates, they are what made it happen in Brighton. It has been a long journey, but also the beginning of a new one, as a political party represented at Westminster at last. Now is a moment to pause and reflect. And I think it's right to remember those who are not with us now, those who worked for this moment, who helped make it happen, but didn't live to see it. I'm sure we can all call people to mind. For me, it's Mike Wooden, a much valued and much missed colleague from Oxford days. And it was his ideas and principled actions that have helped shape this party. I wish he were here now, and I wish they were all here now, and we must keep them in our minds as we face the next stage on this journey. Conference, we have been given a chance to be a new voice in politics. That is a great responsibility. And like the achievement of this historic victory, the responsibilities that come with it are also shared. There are tasks we now face together as a party. First, what we want to achieve and how we articulate this for the many people who for the first time are looking to the Green Party with interest. We've always been a party that combined aspiration and pragmatism. We dare to think big. We dare to imagine the world that we want, not the world we've been told to put up with. And some of our ideas have already become mainstream. Lowering the voting age to 16, for example, was seen as a bit of a joke when we first put it forward. And now it feels like an idea whose time is coming. Or the living wage, the supposedly radical idea of paying people enough to live on. An idea which Jenny and Darren fought for on the London Assembly and which is now being picked up across the country. But we are also pragmatists. Our experience as elected representatives have taught us that sometimes the best can be the enemy of the good, and that it's right to concentrate on the areas where we can make real improvements to people's lives now. Idealism and pragmatism. I believe our party needs them both. And more than that, I believe each one of us needs them both. We shouldn't see ourselves as one or the other, idealist or pragmatist. We all need to keep our eyes on our ideals, to influence the debate, to shape the future. And we all need the satisfaction that comes from making a difference here and now. And it needs discipline to get the balance right. But we can be daring and imaginative, and also practical. For example, I'd like to see the law changed to allow candidates for Parliament to stand as job shares. Nothing would do more to open up politics to women. Now, I know the establishment will pour scorn, and they'll say it's ideas like that that make us unelected and unelectable. Well, fine, let them. But I also know that this is an idea whose time will also come. We've been told that job shares are no good for certain sorts of professions, from doctors to lawyers, and in every case, the men and women in those job shares have proved the doubters wrong. It's a little different from the time when we were told that women don't have what it takes to be pilots, or a blind person couldn't serve as a magistrate. Now, these battles must be fought, and whatever the criticism, I will fight them, and I know you will too. And of course, we'll also continue to repeat the apparently heretical notion that a world of finite resources cannot sustain a system of infinite production and consumption, however much politicians of the other parties act as if the contrary were true. So we must never lose that radical perspective. And there are other challenges. Every week in Parliament there are dozens of votes, and each one I'll have to vote for or against. Now, I know Green councillors up and down the land have all had their experience of being between a rock and a hard place. And it's the same in the House of Commons, not least because at Westminster, in the mother of all parliaments, I discover, there are no mechanisms to abstain. So each vote forces us to take a position. And if we are honest, some of these are areas where conference may not have a fully developed position. And so for all of us, it means redoubling our efforts to bring our policy-making process up to date, reaching out to the wealth of organisations at all levels who share our values and who want to work with us. Together, turning our vision of a greener, fairer, more peaceful world into a tangible and compelling reality. We're helped enormously in that challenge by the news that since Spring Conference, thousands of new members have joined our party. Some have come from the other parties, Labour members who finally realised that even with the passing of Brown and Blair, they are still stuck in the new Labour nightmare. Labour's leadership campaign has been a demonstration of political amnesia on a positively heroic scale. The gang of four men, the geeks in suits in Diane Abbott's words, are collectively choosing to forget as much of Labour's record as they possibly can. Iraq, PFI, the BAE bribery scandal, growing inequality, rising carbon emissions, they act as if they were all out at lunch when it happened. And so whether the new leader is Burnham or Balls, or someone from the firm of management consultants Miliband and Miliband, many Labour supporters know that the party will never again truly represent them. They've had enough of Labour. Some have had enough of politics, full stop. But others still believe that it's important to be involved and still want to work to defend the vulnerable, to stand up to big business and vested interests, and to take care of our natural environment. And to those people, I say, the Green Party is your natural home.